die Cabrios besetzt. Tja, da gibt es auch einige Probleme beim Einsteigen. Allerdings der Powman, der Mann, der heute Morgen in Quali die schnellste Zeit gefahren hat, der sitzt bereits in seinem Auto. Das ist Timo Glock und da werden wir auch gleich mal uns reindrängen können. Timo, noch mal ein paar Worte zu deinem Qualifying-Ergebnis heute Morgen. Das hat ja bislang nicht so gut hingehauen, zweiter Platz im Quali. Dein bisher bestes Ergebnis, aber heute Morgen hast du alles richtig gemacht hier. Und zwar mit weitem Abstand warst du vorn, BMW insgesamt sehr gut aufgestellt. Aber was sagst du zu deiner ersten Pole-Position in deiner Karriere?
Ja, das ist natürlich sehr, sehr schön, weil da habe ich lange drauf gewartet. In Spielberg letztes Jahr 6.000 weg davon, hat der Robert Wiggins noch in der letzten Sekunde die Pole weggeschnappt. Und dieses Jahr ist einfach nicht ganz so rund gelaufen. Ich habe mir schwer getan mit dem Auto, habe immer ein bisschen Probleme gehabt, eine komplette Runde zusammenzubekommen. Und, jetzt haben wir das Wochenende ein bisschen eine andere Herangehensweise gehabt und das hat sich ausgezahlt. Ich habe noch ein bisschen Vertrauen ins Auto gehabt und BMW ist hier schon immer stark. Natürlich hilft das Gewicht, aber wir haben auch schon immer hier gut ausgewählt und deswegen hoffe ich, dass wir das, die Pole in gutes Rennergebnis ummünzen können.
Wir versuchen natürlich auch die Fans immer so weit wie möglich einzubinden und stellen Fragen auf Facebook, auf der DTM Facebook-Seite, auf dem offiziellen Kanal. Da kam eine Frage von einem Zuschauer rein, warum läuft es mit deinem gelben Biest nicht so, weil dem hast du ja gerade was Besseres gezeigt.
Ja, also ich hoffe, dass das jetzt mal bei den letzten beiden Rennen vielleicht und auch noch morgen natürlich, dass wir das konstant so ein bisschen umsetzen können, was wir heute geschafft haben und hoffe, dass ich Ihnen die richtige Antwort gegeben habe.
Ja, das hoffen wir natürlich auch. Dir viel Erfolg fürs Rennen. Wie schwer ist es denn hier zu überholen? Wie groß ist die Wahrscheinlichkeit, dass du auch vorne bleibst für deine Pole?
Ja, dann erstmal müssen wir einen guten Start hinbekommen. Das ist Sache so. Und dann ist ein langer Weg nachher zu Turn 1. Und ich hoffe, dass ich da einen guten Start hinlegen kann und dann ist die Möglichkeit schon da, vielleicht mit konstanten Runden da ein bisschen wegzufahren. Aber es wird schwer. Die Jungs um mich herum sind alle schnell und alle meine Teamkollegen mit gleichem Material. Somit das wird dann einfach.
Ich hoffe mal, dass das breite Grinsen, was du gerade auf dem Gesicht hast, auch bis nach dem Rennen anhält. Vielen Dank, Timo Glock. Wir machen mal den Weg hier weiter nach vorne. Nämlich Timo nicht nur alleine vorne im BMW. Neben ihm standen auch Tom Blomqvist und Augusto Farfus auf den Plätzen 2 und 3. Und dann kann man vielleicht hier noch ein Mikrofon reinhalten. Tom, I think it was by far the best qualifying result what you got in DTM so far as you're in your rookie year. So how does it feel being so far in front?
Well, obviously it's a great feeling to be towards the sharp end. Moscow started fifth and now here third, so we've made good progress and also another great result for BMW as a whole. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't think we can complain too much about that.
For sure not. How often have you been here to Oschersleben and which car have you been driving here?
I was here in Formula 3 in 2011, so some time ago now, but it's the first track that I've driven the DTM car at before. We had the pre-season test, so it was a little bit more familiar for me. Maybe that helped a little bit, but so far so good. So let's try and keep up the good progress.
We keep the fingers crossed. Thanks a lot and good luck. Tom Blomqvist und Augusto Farfus, den hatten wir ja schon vorhin gehört nach dem Qualifying. Ich mache mal den Weg nach vorne. Vielleicht haben wir noch den einen oder anderen. Martin Tomczyk ist hier, dann können wir vielleicht auch noch das Mikrofon kurz ins Gesicht halten. Martin, deine Erwartungen von Oschersleben, wie hat dein Wochenende sich bislang angefühlt hier?
Ja, war nicht mal so schlecht. Ich glaube, die Startaufstellung zeigte, dass BMW hier recht gut die Karten hat. Jetzt schauen wir mal, dass wir es im Rennen so durchbringen. Wir hoffen natürlich nur das Beste, aber es kann sich viel ändern im Rennen, aber jetzt schauen wir mal. Hauptsache der Start, die erste Runde passt und dann müssen wir schauen, wo wir uns einreihen. Aber so ein schöner BMW-Zug da vorne würde nicht schlecht ausschauen.
Ich glaube, den werden wir sehen. Vielen Dank, viel Erfolg, Martin Tomczyk. Und bevor wir den BMW-Zug auch hier im DTM Fan TV zu stark werden lassen, gehen wir einfach mal 2 Eckchen weiter vor. Hier ist Matthias Ekström neben Miguel Molina. Für Matthias Ekström heute sehr enttäuschendes Ergebnis, was wir da im Qualifying gesehen haben. Aber ich habe gehört, du hattest Probleme, Matthias. Was war bei dir im Qualifying los?
Ja, zuerst muss ich sagen, wir waren wahrscheinlich nicht so schnell genug für Pole Position, aber dann in meiner ersten Runde ist irgendwann elektronisch kaputt gegangen, also ich konnte nicht mehr schalten.
Ist das Problem wieder behoben? Kannst du jetzt im Rennen wieder ordentlich schalten oder ist das so ein bisschen noch eine unsichere Geschichte?
Nein, der hat jetzt funktioniert. So. Jetzt geben wir wieder Gas, aber von 23 ist es schon eine schwere Aufgabe.
Dann werden wir sehen, wir wissen auf jeden Fall, dass du überholen kannst und dass du auch jede Chance nutzt, das haben wir spätestens in Moskau gesehen. Vielen Dank Matthias Ekström, neben ihm noch Miguel Molina. Hier sitzen ja, die beiden, der Drittplatzierte in der Tabelle, Edo Mortara, und ich muss mal meinen Zettel hier rausziehen, auf dem die Fragen stehen, die ihr so im Internet gestellt habt, aber dummerweise ist da überhaupt keine einzige dabei an Edo Mortara. Dafür ist eine dabei an Adrian Tambay, den haben wir ja vorhin schon gehört, und zwar fragt Cindy bei Facebook, Adrian, there's a question from Cindy from the official Facebook channel from DTM. Do you think you can do a podium this year?
Oops. Yes, maybe.
What do you need for that?
More pace.
And where do you find it?
I don't know.
Okay, look beyond the carpet and we'll see. Good luck for the race, Adrian Tambay, Edo Mortara. Vielleicht zu ihm auch noch zwei Worte. Edo Mortara, ihr habt es ja ein bisschen schwerer hier im wahrsten Sinne des Wortes. Die Audis sind schwerer, entsprechend hart ist es an BMW ranzukommen. Du als Drittplatzierter in der Tabelle, meinst du, das wird trotzdem noch passieren, in Oschersleben an der Spitze dran zu bleiben?
Es ist natürlich schwierig für uns. Wir haben viel Gewicht im Auto, aber okay, diese sind die Regeln. Wir müssen noch ein Rennen machen. Normalerweise haben wir ein gutes Rennauto für das Rennen und ich hoffe für ein gutes Rennen. Ja.
Dann drücken wir auch dir die Daumen. Viel Erfolg dir auf jeden Fall. Du startest ja deutlich weiter vorne als Matthias Ekström, von ihm haben wir es gerade gehört, Elektronikprobleme, aber das ist schwer zu überholen. Wo sind die Stellen, an denen du vielleicht überholen kannst?
Es ist natürlich ein bisschen schwierig hier zu überholen, aber es ist möglich. Und wir haben es schon gesehen in den letzten Jahren. Schauen wir mal jetzt.
Okay, ich denke, Ende, Start und Ziel. Viel Erfolg dir, Edo Mortara. Danke dir. So, ein Platz weiter sitzt der Mann, den wir einmal nicht gesehen haben. Das ist Timo Scheider aus dem Audi-Lager. Und auch bei dem drängeln wir uns gerade noch mal rein. Der schreibende Kollege muss sich hier leider mal zur Seite begeben. Timo, schön, dass du wieder dabei bist bei der DTM. Wie hast du das letzte Wochenende das DTM-Rennen verfolgt?
Ja, leider Gottes zu Hause auf der Couch. War natürlich eine harte Zeit, nach 25 Jahren zum ersten Mal die DTM in Anführungszeichen seit 25 Jahren, aber von der Couch zu sehen, sein Auto fahren zu sehen. Aber der Antonio, Anführungszeichen, leider hatte da Kontakt mit einem BMW, der dann das Ganze noch leicht beschädigt hat. Aber nichtsdestotrotz bin ich natürlich froh, heute hier zu sein und wieder in Oschersleben am Start zu stehen.
Du bist ein bisschen fremdgegangen letztes Wochenende bei Matthias Ekström im Team gefahren. Erzähl uns mal ein bisschen davon.
Ich bin nicht bei Matthias gefahren, ich bin bei All Inke gefahren, bei dem Team, wo mein Renningenieur, Laurent Federcourt, der auch hier mein Renningenieur ist, in der Rallye-Cross-Szene Ingenieur ist. Hab jetzt diese Woche zweimal getestet und werde nächste Woche bei dem WM-Lauf dann in Barcelona am Start stehen.
Das freut uns sehr. Wir sind mal gespannt, was du da reißen kannst. Jetzt haben wir unsere Fanfrage. Ich habe hier zwei Zettel in der Hand. Ein Fan hat gefragt, ich habe den Namen jetzt leider nicht parat, aber wie sehr magst du die Musik deines Schwiegerpapas?
Ja, wenn man genau hinhört, dann kann man da schon ganz schön schöne Textzeilen erwischen. Ich bin jetzt kein Schlager-Fan, der sich jeden Tag das reinzieht, aber ganz am Ende des Tages geht es da um das Leben und das Leben zu leben und das ist eigentlich sehr positiv ist. Man muss es nur annehmen und es verstehen. Und ich glaube, das ist so ein bisschen der Tenor und das macht mich dann schon, stimmt mich schon positiv, auch wenn es eine Musik ist, die mir nicht unbedingt im ersten Moment 100% zusagt.
Eins ist immer klar, das Leben muss vorwärts gelebt, kann aber nur rückwärts verstanden werden. Also wahre Worte, schön gesprochen, der zweifache DTM-Champion Timo Scheider.
Danke, viel Spaß.
Danke dir, viel Erfolg dir, Timo. Mike Hoppenfeller steht neben ihm und die Jungs gehen jetzt langsam auf die Straße. Heißt, wir müssen das Ganze mal dicht machen, sind jetzt erstmal durch mit den Interviews an den Cabrios und muss man aufpassen, dass mein Kameramann hier nicht überfahren wird. Die fahren jetzt nämlich rechts und links an uns vorbei. Die gehen jetzt auf die Strecke. Ich gucke gleich mal, ob ich in der Startaufstellung noch den einen oder anderen Teamchef vors Mikrofon kriege oder Pascal Wehrlein. Der steht zwar vorne noch, aber fährt jetzt auch gleich los. Die Speerspitze aus dem Hause Mercedes, den wollen wir natürlich auch nochmal hören. Vor diesem 13. DTM-Lauf hier in Oschersleben. Und ich guck mal, da sitzt mein Kollege Peter Reichert da schon oben. Richie?
Ich zitiere einen ehemaligen Motorsportchef des Hauses Mercedes-Benz, der bei so etwas immer sagte, da bringt mich allein schon die Frage auf. Natürlich sitze ich hier oben und bin genauso gespannt und voller Erwartungen, ob dem Spektakel, das uns nun ins Haus steht, das DTM-Rennwochenende 7 in der Saison 2015. Es ist also quasi angerichtet. 25 schlappe Minütchen haben wir noch, also es ist noch in jedem Fall genug Zeit, mit den Radius einmal um die doch recht kurze Strecke hier in Oschersleben zu flanieren in gemächlicher Fahrt und ein bisschen Winkel-Winkel oder auch letzte Diskussion, wie wir hier bei Timo Block oder Augusto Farfus sehen. Also Augusto Farfus sitzt hier, Tom Blomqvist, also es herrscht offensichtlich überall noch ein wenig Gesprächsbedarf und das ist auch richtig so. Aber ein Spruch hat mich gerade echt fasziniert, muss ich sagen. Das Leben kann nur vorwärts gelebt, aber nur rückwärts geschaut werden. Ja, jetzt gilt es hier vorwärts zu leben, ohne rückwärts zu schauen. Aber rückwärts schauen, das machen wir ganz gerne. Stichwort Timo Scheider beispielsweise. Hier in Oschersleben entstand der Spruch vom Podiumsverweigerer, der einstmals war. Mittlerweile ist dieser Mann zweifacher Champion, hat ganz bestimmt im Moment so gerade hinter sich die härteste Zeit seines Rennfahrerlebens. Aber auch ich schließe mich gerne in den Tenor an derer, die da sagen, Timo, schön, dass du wieder da bist. Fehler gemacht, Fehler bezahlt, aus Fehler hoffentlich gelernt. Und das hoffentlich kann ich dann auch direkt streichen. Da sind wir sehr, sehr sicher, dass Timo Scheider in der Beziehung durchaus lernfähig ist. Und da, also Bruno Spangler sitzt natürlich neben Timo Block, ist ja völlig klar. Die beiden älteren Leute vereint. Und es geht also noch einmal um diese 3,696 Kilometer. Hier in Oschersleben mein Kurs, von dem ich vorher gelernt habe, das ist der Begriff Mickey-Maus-Kurs, nicht unbedingt mal Kurs, aber ganz klar, das ist ein Kurs mit sehr vielen Fahrtrichtungswechseln, Lastwechseln, viele Kurven, relativ schwierig zu überholen. Natürlich die erste Kurve, und da denke ich eure Aufmerksamkeit gerne in diese Richtung, die wird es dann gleich am Start in sich haben, wenn da quasi leicht übertrieben gesagt 24 Autos versuchen, sich durch eine Nahtüber zu quetschen. Das ist genauso, wenn man zu Hause lebt und man sieht verschiedene Farben durch diese dünne Öffnung der Schrittnadel hindurchzubekommen. Das geht dann auch irgendwann schief. Also muss man sich da irgendwie, wer auch immer weiß, wie sie es machen, aber man muss sich da einig sein, denn nur Einigkeit schützt davor, dass das Auto schon nach Kurve 1 ordentlich umgeht ist. Die BMW-Armada fährt vorne weg und das ist durchaus ein Bild mit Symbolcharakter, denn das haben sie heute im Qualifying ja auch gemacht. Und das gleich fünffach mit Klopffarfus, Blomqvist, Da Costa und Spangler. Also BMW hat durchaus hier unterstrichen, dass man in Oschersleben durchaus nicht angereist ist, um einfach hier so ein bisschen mitzufahren. Nein, nein. Man möchte schon die volle Punktzahl und wenn es geht noch ein paar Punkte mehr, die Plätze dahinter mit nach Hause, mit nach München nehmen. Mercedes ebenfalls, bei BMW ist es natürlich klar, da hat man natürlich den Vorteil, gerade auf so einer engen, winkligen Strecke, dass man natürlich mit einem leichten Auto hier natürlich deutlich besser zurechtkommt. Der Gewichtsnachteil, den Audi an diesem Wochenende hat, der kommt dann schon eher stärker zum Tragen. Aber so ist es nun mal, das ist das Gesetz über die DTM. Was Erfolg nicht nur mit Bruno, sondern auch was ist als groß. Und das schwierig im Moment dann auch einigermaßen sehr. Weil ich meine sagen muss, das Leben wieder zu sitzen, zu Also, es ist durchaus normalerweise nicht möglich für Audi, vielleicht auch heute, man weiß es nicht. Gut, dann also im Ansinnen von vielen magischen Momenten am heutigen Tage ist das Stichwort jetzt Magic Moments für Olli. Erklär uns mal auf.
Ja, ganz genau. Und zwar haben wir vorhin während des Kurses einen großen Bus gesehen, auf dem Magic Moments bei Mercedes-Benz draufstand. Und deswegen stehen Markus, Hussein und Marc bei mir. Und ich wollte dich mal fragen, wie hat es euch denn gefallen? Was habt ihr denn alles erlebt an diesem Wochenende?
Also wir sind jetzt schon viel rumgelaufen. Wir haben auch das schon mit das andere Vorrennen schon gesehen. Und hier ist es ganz, ganz schön.
Das ist ganz schön, Mercedes-Benz. Weißt du was über diese Aktion? bisschen um Kinder, die da ein bisschen den Sport angepackt werden sollen, ein bisschen nachteilig und am Ende sollen wir schöne Momente erleben.
Das ist sehr schön.
Hast du so ein bisschen Gänsehaut, wenn der Motor angeht? Nein, ich finde das total kalt. Wie ist es denn bei dir? Was macht dich besonders heiß, wenn du das ganze Spektakel hier an der Rennstrecke siehst?
Es ist einfach schön, das mal zu sehen. Ich hoffe, Mercedes gewinnt.
Das ist ja ein langer Weg nach vorne. Wir stehen hier gerade am Auto von Pascal Wehrlein und wenn du mal vorguckst, da sind noch ein paar andere Autos vor ihm, ein paar andere BMWs, 5 an der Zahl. Also wird ein langer Weg, aber ich glaube, wenn ihr alle die Daumen haltet, dann könnte das schon funktionieren.
Schafft er.
Alles klar, wie verbringt ihr den Tag weiter? Was habt ihr noch auf dem Programm?
Also, wir gucken uns das hier an. Natürlich sind wir für Pascal Wehrlein und wir hoffen, dass er gewinnt und dann fahren wir wieder nach Hause.
Ja, wunderbar. Dann danke ich euch für euren Besuch. Viel Spaß und Daumen drücken für Pascal. Das war's erstmal von mir. Zurück zu dir, Richie.
Olli, wir merken uns, schafft er. Sind ja nur 5 BMW vor ihm.
It's a one of a kind! Only in the DTM! Yes, man, you did it! Thank you, guys! Go, 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 go! Yeah!
Hello and welcome to the 7th race weekend of the DTM season 2015. We are here in Oschersleben in Germany, and let me tell you, the weather this morning was absolutely terrible with fog, and that certainly made time management very difficult. But now I can see the sun fighting its way through, so let's hope for better weather conditions. But fact is, the race is going to start in a bit, and with me is Mike Rockenfeller. Now, Rocky, in Moscow, you won the last race. That was fantastic. And here you actually were second place last year. So I think you like Oschersleben, but what happened in the qualifying, starting from P17 today, that's going to make it very difficult for you.
Yeah, for sure. It's more difficult than last year, you know, to finish on the podium. I think it's impossible. Well, I think it's quite easy. We didn't get the perfect lap together. The car was okay, I have to say. It was quite nice. But not quick enough to do much better than we did. And the weight is definitely not helping us. I think this you can see on the grid. If you take that out and say everybody's on the same weight, I think the Audis would be very strong. But it's like it is. It's a long discussion since the whole year about the weight rule, and we have to deal with it and make the best out of it. Obviously, P17 is not what I was dreaming for.
I bet, but best of luck for the race. Thank you, Rocky. And now let's have a look at the summary of Moscow. Dave?
The battle for the DTM Championship title is on. And the action becomes less friendly. In front of the championship standings, it's Audi against Mercedes, Matthias Ekstrom against Pascal Wehrlein. The battle for the points is getting more intense, and so are the antics.
What the fuck did he do?
He would have easily passed me on the back straight. I mean, there was no reason to have or to make such a move there, and at the end there is no space for two cars.
In the first race at Moscow, Wehrlein starts the action. His overtaking move on reigning champion Marco Wittmann brings him the second victory of the season.
I think our performance compared to BMW in the long run is very good, so we know they have more tire degradation than we have.
This makes Wehrlein the new points leader for the time being, because his opponent Ekstrom is taking too much risk in the battle with Timo Glock. For his hard manoeuvre, he gets a 3-place grid drop. I think the fact that I didn't score any points was the biggest penalty anyway. In spite of the penalty and the pressure in the championship battle, the Swede manages to score a podium finish in the race on Sunday, 3rd place behind BMW driver Bruno Spangler. Victory still remains in the Audi camp. Mike Rockenfeller scores his first win after a 2-year drought. His last win to date was also in Moscow. Pascal Wehrlein has to hand over the points lead again with 10th place and only 1 point. The battle for the title is entering its next round at Oschersleben. 3 rounds to go until the end of the 2015 season.
And in pole position is Timo Glock. A fantastic qualifying for you. Your first pole position, and you were very, very excited. We saw the pictures, you raving. Do you also have a good feeling that you're going to end the race really well? Maybe a victory?
Yeah, we need to try. I mean, you know, this is the best position you can be in. So it's all about getting a good start and trying to head off in the distance. But they will be tough against Augusto and Tom, so they are all quick. So, you know, we try our best and see where we end up.
Well, best of luck for the race. Thank you, Timo, and back to you.
Thank you very much, Verena. So Timo Glock then the pole sitter, his first pole position as we take a look at the grid in full now. So Timo Glock then, P1, and good qualifying from Augusto Farfus alongside him on the next row.
Tom Blomqvist has his best DTM qualifying. He lines up 3rd alongside Antonio Felix da Costa.
Bruno Spangler goes from P5 with the best Mercedes to show, Pascal Wehrlein P6.
Fighting for points in the championship, he's ahead of reigning champion Marco Wittmann. Martin Tomczyk back up towards the front, he's 8th.
Then we see Miguel Molina, who had an off in quali, and Eduardo Mortara there, P9 and P10.
Gary Paffett, who's been a winner here in the past, starts 11th, and Maxime Martin is mid-grid at 12th.
Then we see the Brit Jamie Green from P13 and Daniel Juncadella, the Mercedes driver, alongside him P14.
Paul di Resta, one of the 8 champions on the grid, is 15th, ahead of Nico Müller.
Then we see Mike Rockenfeller and Christian Vittoris on the next row.
Vittoris, a winner here last year. Timo Scheider has won here twice. He's 19th on his return, ahead of Robert Wickens.
Then we see Maximilian Gertz and Adrian Tombay go from P21 and P22.
Lucas Auer put to 24th after blocking. That puts Matthias Ekstrom 23rd, still his worst ever qualifying. Let's go to the grid and hear from Uli Fritz.
Yes, Uli Fritz is here with me. Now, your best Mercedes is Pascal in P6, and I guess you can be pretty happy that the toughest competition is all the way in P23, that is Matthias Ekström. So I guess, are you looking forward to a good race? Where do you think can Pascal go from P6?
Yeah, it's difficult to say. I mean, it is not a very long race. We don't have a pit stop. So, yeah, it's difficult to say at the moment. Performance-wise, it was good. We just didn't get the lucky lap this morning in qualifying. So, yeah, we will see. Obviously, Oschersleben is quite difficult to overtake. Yeah, we just need to make the best out of it.
I bet you will. Thank you very much, and back to you, Dave.
So good to hear from Uli Fritz down there on the grid. And, well, David Addison, a big BMW fest, wasn't it, in qualifying?
It was, but let's throw a few more things into the melting pot about that, because Timo Glock is on the minimum weight here. His car weighs in at 11.05. Matthias Ekstrom, Edo Mortara, Mike Rockenfeller weigh in at 11.37.5. So there's a big, big disparity amongst the weights. So Glock is on the lightest weight. And Augusto Farfus second is only 2.5 kilos heavier. Tom Blomqvist, who is third, is on that lightest weight. And Blomqvist is coming for the first time to somewhere that he knows how a DTM car should be, because, of course, it was here they did all the pre-season testing.
Yes.
He's also raced here in Formula 3 in the German Championship, but he has done some miles around here. Testing is limited, so he's coming back to a venue. First time all year where he's got some data, and that, I think, is helping as well.
Yes, and, you know, anecdotally, we would think that that was the case. And when you look at his qualifying position, certainly helping.
Yeah.
Molina, well, they've had to do a lot of work on that car, haven't they? Because it wasn't really until we saw the car being pulled out of the tyres from qualifying qualifying that we realised just quite how much damage was done to the front of that machine.
It looked fairly innocuous, just sort of ran wide and off the road and headbutted the barrier. But what happened was that the splitter got caught underneath, and so as it bounced back, it sort of wrenched the floor and the splitter away from the car. So a lot of work has been done. Of course, the Audis, way back on the grid, they're starting here 9th and 10th. He's still the best of the Audi drivers, but many of the Audis on a good previous few races are laden with weight, and that's having an issue. But Matthias Ekström, a gearbox problem. It was an electronic up and down shift issue, we are told.
Right.
That was why he didn't get a lap time in, and he was 24th fastest, aka slowest. But with a penalty for Lucas Auer for blocking Marco Wittmann, he's promoted to 23rd. But it's still his worst ever qualifying, on the back of being 22nd one year at the Nürburgring. He has got a lot of work to do, and of course Ekström goes into this race without a pit stop, without the chance of rain, because the sun is shining through now and the temperatures are going up, so he's going to have to do this on racecraft alone.
And this man, who is his biggest challenger in the points at the moment, Pascal Wehrlein, going from P6. So Pascal Wehrlein, as I said in qualifying, will be rubbing his hands with invisible soap, thinking this is a real opportunity for me to make good here. Matthias Ekström then, as you say, starting from P23 on the grid. If anyone can do that work, he can.
But he's not got many Audi drivers around him to help, because they in turn are a long way back on the grid, so he hasn't got too many friends to try and take points away from Wehrlein. So he's going to have to do a lot of work here to really get himself into the points, into the mix.
So a heli shot of the Oschersleben circuit, which was blanketed in fog this morning in the grid there. As you can see, it's Glock and Farfus, Blomqvist, Felix da Costa, then Spangler, Wehrlein, Wittmann, Tomczyk, Molina, Mortara, Paffett and Martin occupying the first 6 rows of this starting grid for race 13. Then we see Jamie Green and Junker Deya. Then it's De Resta and Müller, Rockefeller, Vittorius, Scheider and Bickins. Then it's Gertz and Tombe and Ekström and Auer starting from the very back of the grid. So, BMW, interestingly, I know you'd done some work on the stats with regards to BMW, which we'll come to after we hear from Jens Marquardt now.
Yes, and I bet he's a very happy, a very confident man, because Jens Marquardt, you did a fantastic qualifying. I mean, all BMWs in the top 5, that's fantastic, and all cars in the top 12. So is history going to repeat itself? Do you think we're going to see something similar like in Zandvoort?
Well, I mean, first of all, as you said, it's really a very good starting point for us with this qualifying here for the first race in Oschersleben. Been here strong in the test as well, a track that really suits us. I'm super happy for Timo. He really deserves this. His first pole in DTM since he's in here. So, yeah, it's a good setting, but we all know it's still 40 tough minutes, and my heart rate is going to go up any second now.
I bet it will. Well, best of luck for the race. Thank you very much. So let's see. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Verena. The all-new, clean-shaven Jens Marquardt that was on display at Moscow, it has to be said. Now, just to finish off this little story I was saying, you've done some work on the BMW, and the qualifying has been outstanding for them here.
Yeah, I mean, some of it you've heard. The top 5 is a BMW lockout. All of the cars are in the top 12. 7 out of the top 10 are BMWs. Therefore, it is BMW's best qualifying since its return to the championship in this modern age. Discount the early 90s and the old M3s, but in the second coming, if you like, of BMW into the championship, it is the best qualifying. But now, on the pit wall, there's a decision to be made, because Bruno Spangler, 5th on the grid, is the best placed of the BMW drivers in the championship. How much of a team strategy is there going to be to get Spangler up the order to score more points in what's been not a great season? And actually, in a sense, it's a surprise that he is 5th in the championship. See how he can get on. But if he can stay ahead of Wehrlein, and it's perfectly possible that Ekström won't score a single point out of this race.
Of course it is.
Then that would really help him were he to have a win.
And, of course, from Oschersleben, all we have is Nürburgring and the Hockenheim final. So we are reaching the very important stage of the championship, aren't we? So it will be very interesting to see how it's played with, as you say, Glock, Farfus, Blomqvist and Antonio Felix da Costa ahead of him.
You've got points in the top 10 up for grabs, so that's where Ekström has got to get to. But we also know around here that you can have incidents, and that first chicane, the first left-right sequence in practice yesterday was catching out people, and it's perfectly feasible as they all go diving in there on the first lap that one or two might trip over themselves. We know how fragile DTM cars can be in terms of the aero. It doesn't take much of a rub. Robert Wickens will tell you this from a couple of occasions this year. You're in retirement with damaged aero, and sometimes you've not even felt the rub itself.
Sure.
So it could be that people are in strife in that first corner. It could be that people are in the gravel. It could be an opportunity to gain places that way. And Dieter Gas from Audi certainly will be hoping that Matthias Ekstrom can gain places. He's with Verena.
Oh, I'm sure. Dieter Gas, you guys, your team worked really hard on Molina's car. So obviously, luckily, that all worked out and he'll be starting in the race. But what about Matthias Ekstrom? Why is he starting in P23? What was the problem, and could you solve the problem for the race now?
Yeah, I think on Miguel first, the mechanics did really an excellent job. I even saw some BMW mechanics passing by in front of the garage looking in and applauding, so I think that was quite good. For Matthias, it was really a pity. He had a problem with the gear shifting, which means basically the gears weren't recognized and we couldn't fix that during the session. So he didn't have the chance to go out for a second time. After the first time, the balance was quite okay, but he already started having a problem during the first attempt. So it was really a shame for him, and definitely will be uphill struggle for him from second last.
All right, well, best of luck for the race. Thank you very much, Dieter Gas, and back to you, Dave.
So Verena talking to Dieter Gas then, and he outlining the fact that Matthias is going to have a lot of work to do. And of course, the car won't have run since they've done the repairs. So
done the installation lap round to the grid.
Yeah.
We are assuming that in what they had, an hour and 45 minutes to the pit lane opening, they've been able to get the work done. You can imagine that there's been a huge amount of toil going on within the Audi garage. It's not just Ekstrom, but Miguel Molina as well. And so the first of the two races this weekend at Oschersleben is set to get underway. The sun is shining. Temperatures have really shot up since we had the rather cold and dreek morning in the fog earlier. But there, Timo Glock, it is on pole position. Is this going to be another Zandvoort-esque BMW-dominated day?
It could well be, and we are but a few minutes from finding out. They're off on their formation lap now. They're all weaving from side to side to try and get some heat into those Hankook tyres. The first turn they come to is the hotel turn, where we saw a number of cars go off during free practice. It's going to be a real pinch point, that turn, isn't it, when we get to the first racing lap, as 24 cars go pummeling into that turn.
See the way the grid lines up. We've got Farfus, Blomqvist, then Da Costa, Spangler, Wehrlein, Wittmann, Tomczyk being the top 8 on the grid. And again, I make the point that the BMWs are cumulatively running less weight as an average than the other brands. There, the rest of the grid scrolls through. The repaired Audi of Molina ahead of Mortara's car. Then it's Paffett, Martin, Green. Still the man who's won most races this year with those 3 victories ahead of Juncker-Dea, De Resta, Muller, Rockenfeller, Vitoris, last year's winner in the wet. Then it's Scheider, double winner here. Wickens, who had a spin this morning in the shortened practice session. Gertz, Tombe, Ekstrom with his gearbox problems, and Lucas Auer, who got in the way of Marco Wittmann and was given a 5-place grid drop, which only actually was 1 place in the end, really, to put into the back of the grid. This is how the lap looks. There's a lot in it.
Lap record set in 2013 by one Mr. Joey Hand, driving what, David?
A BMW,
okay.
Which again illustrates perhaps how good a circuit this is. Wasn't it here as well that Bruno Spangler won the championship when he came back and drove for BMW? The brand returned to the series, so it's a kind circuit to BMW, and of course they've had a good pre-season test here as well. So Timo Glock has now got his first DTM career pole to add to a victory which he took a couple of seasons back. Let's see whether or not the Deutsche Post car is going to be able to hang on in there. I would still be tempted to put a few euros on Bruno Spangler, at least for the podium, but even for the win here.
So then Timo Glock making his way back towards his starting box then, with Augusto Farfus. Good qualifying from him. Supreme qualifying from Tom Blomqvist, who, as David mentioned,
remember the handbrake,
has experience here. Let's hear Timo Glock guided into his pit box, grid box now.
Stop.
There you go, Timo, you're ready to go from pole position. The rest of the cars come in. It's not until we see the green flag from the marshal right at the rear of the pack. Timo Scheider returning, that car driven by Antonio Giovinazzi, the Formula 3 star in Moscow, but Timo Scheider is back.
Approaching the grid now. Good luck.
We see the tension inside the Audi garage. Also in BMW.
Last car is just getting into position now.
And with Uli Fritz in Mercedes-Benz as well.
And look how far forward Glock is. He's right on the limit of what's allowed, the tolerance for that grid box.
So we're standing by for the start of this race. We get the green flag from the marshal at the rear. We'll throw the lights up to the top of the screen for you. It's 4 lights, it's 5 lights. Let's go racing. It's Timo Glock away. Good start from Augusto Farfus seemingly as well. Tom Blomqvist, they're all running into that. Timo Glock goes over to that side of the track and already on a charge. Bruno Spangler trying to make moves up. Augusto Farfus runs wide. Blomqvist is out of it as well.
Spangler goes third. The road opens up. There's mayhem in the background as well as the middle of the pack has tripped over itself. I was going to tell you that Matthias Ekström had gained 3 places, but has he got caught up in all of that as the cars work their way through for the first time? Well, the survivors head towards turn 4. Ekström has got away with it. Pascal Wehrlein is hard at work, but Spangler then up into 3rd spot. A consequence of Farfus, I think, locking up and going deep into the corner. Blomqvist lost out there, but we still have, I think, a bit of sorting out to do. The safety car is deployed straight away because there's been this incident at turn 1.
Well, we always knew that first turn, and I said it in our warm-up that it was always going to be a pinch point, and that proved to be the case for 2 almost separate incidents, David.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out who it is that we've lost, though, within that first sector, because there's bodywork on the road. Now, has everybody got going? It could just be that it's for that bit of debris, in which case it won't take long to get the race back underway. I'm not aware that anybody is delayed. Jamie Green has fallen to the back of the pack. Christian Vittoris has been delayed, so Ekström has actually gained something like 6 spots on the opening lap already. But there was a car that certainly got turned around from that middle of the pack. Jamie Green would appear to be that man, I'm afraid, and he and Christian Vittoris then have dropped to the rear of the order. So the safety car is deployed at the end of lap 1. Timo Glock leads. Antonio Felix da Costa second. 3rd is Spengler. 4th is Farfus. Up to 5th is Wehrlein. 6th is Wittmann, 7th is Tomczyk, and 8th is Tom Blom. So Blomqvist was another loser by dint of really being forced out wide, and I think it was Farfus getting it wrong under braking, as he did in practice on his first flying lap yesterday afternoon.
So there you can see the cars all avoiding that debris that we think is potentially the reason why the safety car has been called for. This very early stage is not even 1 lap completed before that safety car deployment. And
Jamie Green, sorry to interrupt you, Dave. Jamie Green, who was at the back, has gone very, very slowly past the pits. He's virtually stopped in front of his own team on the pit wall.
Right.
And got going again. Now, I wonder whether that's so they can have a very good close look at the car and assess whether it's worth keeping him out.
Yes.
Or bringing him in, because the danger is that while they're looking at it in the pit lane, he would lose so much time relative to the queue that he might go a lap down while they're assessing it. If the pit lane lights were to stay on red. Let's have a look at the restart. They start again.
Undo this pickle then. Good start from Glock. It wasn't a bad start from Farfus or Blomqvist either. Now, Bruno Spangler just sitting back there to see what's going to... Now, that was the lock-up, and that, of course, Farfus took Blomqvist with him, didn't he?
Right, Green gets turned around, and a Mercedes got turned around as well, which I think was Vittoris. So let's have a look, because there's one here... Oh, Rockenfeller ploughed into them. Wickens was up the inside of Rockenfeller, and I'm afraid that was just a chain reaction. Almost everybody you look at here, in the second half of the pack, is going to have a story to tell. So, look, Wickens goes up the inside of Rockenfeller. Rockenfeller ploughs into Jamie Green and turns him around. Wickens gets into Vittoris and turns him around.
Yeah.
And on it goes. Here's Wickens. But he just can't get the car slowed down and turned in, so he makes contact with Vittoris. There's Jamie Green, who gets a second whack. Green got hit by Rockenfeller and then by his teammate, and down the pit lane they all pour.
Now, Wickens also tagged Nico Müller.
He did indeed. Can I just quickly mention, the reason they're coming down the pit lane is because the safety car is bringing them through the pit lane. The debris is on track. By coming through the pit lane, they're circumnavigating that bit. So that gives the marshals the chance to work on track, get the situation sorted out. Robert Wickens is under investigation for causing a collision. Got to say, that looks like a reasonable suggestion for the stewards to have a look at that, truth be told. And so this isn't a mandatory pit stop that they're all making. No. This is to keep them away from the debris just while that's swept out of harm's way.
So cars all going through the pit lane then, and as you say, that just means that they avoid the area where the marshals are needing to do that clear up, and you can see the track sweeper is out there already, and that is the that turn where we saw the debris, and that's what prompted the safety car to be called for. And well, I think from the replays that we've seen, we've fairly well unleashed what happened, haven't we?
I think so. I'm afraid at the moment the fingers point towards Robert Wickens, don't they? But the stewards will have a look and see whether he did cause a collision. He's being investigated for said offence. So the cars work their way through the pit lane, back on track. All of this counts within the 40 minutes. So let's have a look at the first part, because there were two distinct dramas. The first was Farfus. He's the one with the tar smoke around him. And Blomqvist, really the innocent party in all of this.
Yes, he was, because, you know, he had to go the same way as Farfus, didn't he?
Exactly, otherwise there'd be even more contact. So he had to try to get out of the way. And look, he's got nowhere to go. So that's Da Costa's view. Spangler gets past, sorry, that's Spangler's view. So he manages to get himself through the corner. Da Costa goes second. Spangler slots into third at the expense of both Farfus and Blomqvist, who in turn drops back. But actually, from BMW's point of view, it could have been a whole lot worse. It could have been like this.
Yes.
Where the Audis commit harry-carry, largely because the Mercedes of Robert Wickens got into them up the inside. So the Canadian winner at Norris Ring, I'm afraid, certainly has been involved, let's say.
And that's
Jamie Green.
Yeah, and you could just see Muller going round ahead of him, couldn't you?
Yeah. But Jamie's had... There's already been one knock from Rockenfeller, and then there's the other one that we've seen, the secondary impact, as he comes across the front of Wickens. So that was two impacts on the left-hand side. The left-hand side is what the pit wall will see.
Hence he's slowing really down.
So, precisely so.
There's the damage, look, to the Robert Wickens car.
It wouldn't surprise me at all if Wickens didn't end up as a retirement from this race.
Make sure that the steward's here by side.
And Robert Wickens says, make sure the steward's here my side. Well, OK, so the team obviously doesn't want instant justice, anything to be decided during the race. They want Robert to be able to hear. Now, what his side is...
We weren't driving the car, were we?
No.
However...
Did he get a knock from behind?
Possibly. I mean, calling it as we saw it...
Was he squeezed, does he feel, by Rockenfeller onto a dusty part where he couldn't slow the car down, cold tyres and all of that? Anyway, the reason I was saying he might be a retirement is, on more than one occasion this year, his car has ended up retiring early with a little bit of damage caused by early contact.
And this is a lot of damage.
Well, I would have thought so, yeah. So we'll see what the outcome of that is as well.
Well, the car's once again all the way down the pit lane. Now this, of course, for Jamie Green's team, well, they're getting an even better look, aren't they?
Potentially so, yeah. But interestingly, of course, he has stayed within the race. They've not stopped him in the pit lane. They've not done anything to the car. They've kept him circulating.
And I'm amazed, if I'm honest, having looked at the damage on the Robert Wickens car, that he is still circulating as well.
Likewise, but actually, it might be in both cases that you can't really feel the effects until you're back at race pace.
Possibly, yes.
You know, we know the cars are aero dependent. At the moment, the aero's having very little effect.
Sure. Well, some super slow-mo that we're looking at there as the track sweeper is still out there on the track. Now, I would have said, looking at it from... Now, Green has...
He's had a long pit stop, is what you're trying to tell me.
Well...
Took him longer to drive through the pit lane than anybody else, didn't it?
Still on the same lap, isn't he?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Because with everybody using the pit lane stays open, doesn't it?
Yes. Going to catch them up, isn't he?
He's going to catch them up, no question. Of course, Jamie dominated the race, really, last year, didn't he? He was leading, but the wrong pit call brought him in at the wrong time. Then he crashed late race when it was still a very wet road. But yes, if they'd been able to do anything to the car and keep him on that lap, might have been in two stages even, do a bit on one lap,
yeah, maybe.
Do a bit on the next.
Well, they're not going to have another one because it's coming in this time. The safety car is in this lap. And let's go back to racing as we get the greens then. And we have just over half an hour of race action to come here. And Timo Glock is leading them already. Bruno Spangler taking a look at Antonio Felix da Costa and Kel Surprise. Bruno Spangler goes past Antonio Felix da Costa to take up P2.
So he started fifth, he's now second. He's the best placed BMW driver in the championship. This is looking good. Meantime, Ekstrom is in 17th place, 23rd. Helped a little bit by people going off. And Robert Wickens has arrived in the pit lane without that bodywork.
Oh, no!
This is going to be the safety car again because there is a third of a Mercedes, seemingly, that has...
Safety car, Timo, it's another safety car. Safety car, be careful, there are other debris. Safety car again, safe.
There you go. Everybody shouts the call. I was about to finish the sentence with the word self-destructed, but that car, once the air got under the bodywork,
that was
just ripped it apart.
Wasn't it? Ta-da, it was like unwrapped, wasn't it?
Right. So a second safety car.
What did I say about I'm amazed he hasn't retired yet? Well, it didn't take long afterwards, did it?
But actually, the team, look at that, that's all over the track. That's virtually the track blocked. The team could have looked at that when he came down the pit lane. They could have stopped him and put some tape on that, potentially. All right, he'd have lost track position, but now, not only is he effectively out of the race, that has possibly done the damages, but he's about to, because as he blasts down the back straight, fastest part of the circuit, the air gets underneath and it just rips it off. In fairness to Robert, he would not know what the front of the car was like. That's a team thing.
They are through the pit lane twice.
Precisely so. The team has looked at it.
And as you said, yeah, he would have lost track position if the team had gaffer taped it. But, well, there we are.
We don't run cars, but I would have thought that the team might have a little talking to post-race to say,
yes,
you know, why did you leave that out there? But
safety car comes in at the end of this lap.
OK. We had also said, of course, that you won't know the effects until you're at racing speed because of the aero effect. So
however, it did look severely damaged, didn't it? Well, what can we tell you? Bruno Spangler is up to P2. And there, the marshal's retrieving almost a third of the bodywork of Mr. R. Wickens' Mercedes car.
Yeah, and so not for the first time this year, I suspect that in a few laps' time, we'll hear from Verena with a rather grumpy Robert Wickens.
Probably right.
Anyway, we are behind the safety car. The safety car is in this lap. It says in my handy guide to safety car situations that at this point one says safety cars breed safety cars, so we'll get that one out of the way just in readiness of the next drama, and they'll all bunch up again. They'll all head into turn one, and Matthias Ekström was ahead of Robert Wickens anyway, so he's not gained anything out of that, but we are set, Dave, to go racing.
So Timo Glock turns the wick up then and leads them away for the second time of asking from a safety car. Then we have green lights and we head into the hotel turn one. There's Glock, there's Spangler, it's Antonio Felix da Costa P3, then it's Augusto Farfus P4, and of course Pascal Wehrlein in the Mercedes-Benz. He'll be trying desperately to get past some of these BMWs, but life ain't going to be terribly easy for him after saying that. He's got the inside on Augusto Farfus now. Augusto Farfus tries to run him out. And he wasn't able to make that move stick, but Pascal Wehrlein obviously keen to try and garner as many points as he possibly can, particularly with Matthias Ekström much, much further down the pack.
Trouble is for Wehrlein here that what he doesn't want to do is get himself in a situation where he would lose points by being involved in a battle that might take him off the road. So he's trying to attack. He's also under attack from the likes of Wittmann and Tomczyk behind.
They are running P5 and P6. Then it's Martin Tomczyk. But this is our race leader, Timo Glock, and Bruno Spangler appears to be getting ever closer to him.
Agree with that. The gap is half a second, and Spangler has just done the fastest lap of the race. Coming over the timing line, he brakes a little bit later down towards turn one, turn two. Da Costa is third, then it's Farfus, then Wehrlein. Wittmann, Tomczyk, all the BMWs are up there. Look, with Blomqvist next, then it's Molina, the best of the Audis ahead of Mortara. Martin is under attack from Rockenfeller and Scheider. And where is Ekström? He's still 17th, right on the tail of Paul de Resta. But now, Bruno Spangler, who came into the race from 5th on the grid and 5th in the championship, has almost latched himself onto the back of Timo Glock.
OK, you Jens Marquardt now. Do you allow Timo Glock to take his second win, rather, in DTM, or do you want to get the points for the championship? Clearly, I think I know what I would do.
I'd get Spangler ahead of him if I could. But at Zandvoort, remember, he let them race. It wasn't easy to overtake because you don't want to get involved in a battle with your teammate. But here it's rather more important for the championship.
Yes.
Here is Ekström, who is still 17th. Now ahead of him is de Resta, then it's Scheider, then it's Rockenfeller. Technically, getting past those Audis ought to be relatively straightforward for Matthias, but he's got to get past the Mercedes. Now, what would help is if de Resta were delayed a bit by the car ahead, and that car ahead is driven by Timo Scheider.
OK. Oh, the plot thickens, doesn't it? We've got 25 minutes of this still to come, thank goodness. Really, really riveting stuff. And there is Gary Paffett. There's a few of them just run out onto the gravel. Somebody's run out really wide there because there's some gravel being brought on. There's Christian Vittoris and Nico Müller battled together right at the very, very back of the pack.
And they are at the back because not only have we lost Wickens, but Jamie Green is in the pits as well. And perhaps with the team having had a look at the consequences of Wickens' dramas, as there, look, Vittoris goes through and gets past Müller.
22.5 for Da Costa.
Jamie Green is down the pit lane, so he'd broken the pit-in beam. That's why I was saying he was in the pits. Now he arrives in the pit lane. Remember, it's a very long pit lane here.
Yes.
Because you arrive in the pit lane, you come into the pits long before the last corner. and it's going for the garage, isn't it? You wouldn't think, would you, that at the start of the season, this was the man romping away with the championship. 3 race victories, more than anybody this year to Jamie. And he's falling away in the championship. He's had some rotten luck, you know, being involved in an incident here, not his fault. The gearbox problems at the Red Bull Ring, for example, and there a bit of bodywork comes off Nico Muller's car now and gets run over by Vitoris. Is that going to be blown out of the way? I think it will be, won't it? Yeah, being flicked away by the cars, so I don't think that's an issue. Here's the lead gap. It was 0.6 of a second last time between Glock and Spangler. They come over the timing line. It's gone up, actually, 0.7 of a second. Okay. So Spangler perhaps now is having to think about this and not expect it to be given to him. He's going to have to fight his way by. DRS now enabled, and Bruno Spangler has started to use it in his quest to get onto the back of Glock. Now, this is the other element of this.
So there's 22 minutes plus a lap to go, so just settle into it.
Now, of course, Spangler will have DRS, Timo won't.
Precisely so.
So Timo cannot use his DRS to defend any attack from Bruno Spangler. But of course, once and if the positions are reversed and Bruno Spangler takes over, then Timo Glock will have DRS available to him and Bruno Spangler won't.
So it could go back in favour of the yellow BMW, were it to lose the lead, indeed so. But now what Glock's got to do is try through the non-DRS zones to build the gap, so that when you get to a DRS zone, you're far enough ahead that Spangler can't take advantage. That's easier said than done as well. Now, Wehrlein has just done the best first sector of anybody in the race, and he, therefore, is closing onto the back of Farfus. So there are still plenty of little battles in this to be decided. Antonio Felix da Costa looking third, falling back. Look at the gap now.
Yes.
Second to third. But Timo Glock, for the moment, driving a great race up front, ahead of Spangler. These cars, then, these BMW M4s, in the case of Glock, in the case of Spangler, on the lightest possible weight, 11.05.
Of those zone, Da Costa is out of the DRS zone.
So there you can see the rear wing drop.
Yeah, of those on the heaviest weight of all, 11.37.5, the best placed is Mortara in 10th. So that perhaps also illustrates what difference around here the weight makes.
Yeah, very, very good point. So we're on board then with Pascal Wehrlein. Now, Wehrlein has got the Augusto Farfus car to try and dispose of. Let's hear from Jamie Green now, who is down in the pit lane with Verena.
Yeah, very disappointed, Jamie, I guess. I mean, this season was working out so well for you, but now turn one just kind of killed your race, that's for sure. At this point, are you already thinking in regards to the championship, it's throwing you way back, or are you just focusing on now and tomorrow, I guess?
Well, I know I'm focusing on tomorrow now. The situation today with the BMWs all being at the front means that, you know, no Audi's really going to score highly. I think Wehrlein is in the top 6 or 7, so that's the main problem for us, really, championship-wise. But, you know, to score today was going to be difficult. So, you know, I got taken out of the first corner. I qualified in the middle of the pack. And then that's what can happen when you're in the middle of the pack, unfortunately. Somebody hit me and, yeah, car's damaged, so it makes sense to stop now and get it ready for tomorrow.
Right, that's very optimistic, and I guess it was a big chain reaction. It was just unfortunate, so best of luck for tomorrow, Jamie, and back to you, Dave.
Thanks, Verena, and well done for getting hold of Jamie Green so very, very quickly. Be interesting to see if you can get hold of Robert Wickens as well.
Very philosophical, Jamie Green, actually, considering how his season's unravelling and the race weekend has unravelled. But he does make a valid point. You know, here we are talking about what progress can Matthias Ekström make. You know, he's lugging around another 32.5 kilos compared to the top 2 cars in the race. So even allowing for the fact that he started at the back and for the fact that overtaking is not easy around Oschersleben, then add the weight in as well. He really is up against it.
Yes. Yes, it's a big ask for Matthias Ekström, who is currently still P17 behind Paul de Resta, the Mercedes-Benz driver. Under investigation there is Mike Rockenfeller. Just seen that on the on your screen for potentially causing a collision.
Well, that would have been his part battling with Wickens and getting into Jamie Green, I would have thought, but it's all part of the same chain reaction
it is
that
really,
Verena was just mentioning to Jamie, I would have suggested. So more news on that tomorrow, I suspect, when everything has been reviewed. But remember what Robert Wickens said, make sure the stewards hear my side.
Yes.
Meantime, Paffett, former champion, versus Rockenfeller, former champion, versus Scheider, former champion, versus de Resta, former champion, versus Ekström, former champion, running in a line. And at the moment, none of them are in the points.
Big pack of talent there, isn't it?
Absolutely right. Yeah. big wage bill as well. Here they come, up towards the line. And Gary Paffett, by dint of defending, is losing touch now with Maxime Martin, who's getting away up front. The gap between the leaders, 8/10. Here comes Rockenfeller, having a look at the inside, thinks better of it. In the background, Adrian Tombe is defending from Christian Vitoris. And they've all concertinaed up, look, as they work their way through turns 1 and 2. And then this long, long looping right-hander, where you've got to get the power down at exactly the right point. Otherwise, you'll just drift out wide.
We're on board momentarily with Matthias Ekstrom, who's on the back of that pack, if you like. And he has the Paul di Resta Mercedes-Benz ahead of him. And probably what Matthias would like more than anything else is for di Resta to be attacking Scheider ahead, and for Scheider to actually be potentially helping Matthias Ekstrom. Who'd have thought it?
Drop the play, so it was Rockenfeller, I fear, that may have a case to answer. We'll try and find a replay of it. But Paffett went over the timing line, losing places. And interestingly now, Timo Scheider is ahead of Mike Rockenfeller as well. So has Rocky done himself some damage? Possibly. In whatever has happened to Gary Paffett? Potentially. Now, all these ifs and buts, what else is happening is that Farfus has got Pascal Wehrlein all over him like a cheap suit, and Wehrlein has got Wittmann looking for a way past him as well.
So Wehrlein is in this horrible position, isn't he, of being the meat in the BMW sandwich between those two at the moment.
That's really hard to have a problem. Gary had the same. Gary just retired because of the same problem, Pascal. It's your decision. It's your decision. I cannot see whether. Try to get air on it. Try to cool it.
So, obviously, a problem with those cars then, David.
I didn't hear what Wehrlein said it was, and no. The team's response, Gary's retired with the same problem. Try to cool it. Pass. Well, I'm sure Verena will be on the case. There's Gary Paffett straight into the garage, but Wehrlein could here end up being a retirement Curiouser and Curiouser.
Try to get as much air as possible on it.
So it's something that's overheating by the sound of it. Well, Wehrlein, even with a problem potentially, is doing a very good job because his lap times are comparable to those around him. It's not slowing him, so even though he thinks there's something wrong, for the moment he's okay. Now, it could get worse.
12 laps to go.
Can he carry on for 12 more laps?
Well, he's certainly dropped away from Augusto Farfus.
By dropping away, he's in cool air.
Yes.
That's important.
But he does, of course, run into the clutches then, doesn't he?
Yeah, now that's Rockenfeller versus di Resta in replay. And Rockenfeller staying ahead. Although di Resta then gets the line back at turn 2 and nips up the inside and goes into 14th place. And Ekstrom goes through as well. So Rockenfeller on the wrong line, losing track position. And gets mugged by all and sundry there, but he just hasn't got the pace. Let's hear from Gary Paffett then. He is out of the race. He's with Verena.
Yes, he's here with me. Hi, Gary. We heard something about that you had a problem with overheating. Is that what caused you to slow down and to actually now quit the race?
No, I mean, we were really struggling with grip because there was a lot of contact in the first 2 corners and I lost a lot of aero parts and the car was very slow, so we were really struggling. And then for some reason the steering became heavy as well, so I don't know what problem we have, but we have a problem on the steering as well, so yeah.
We have a lot of work till tomorrow, so you can be fit for the race tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, the car was good today. Most of it's bodywork, so it should be okay.
Thank you very much, Gary. Back to you, Dave.
Thanks very much, Verena. But steering and trying to cool the steering. Could the steering overheat? Gary didn't seem to be. Well, he didn't really follow that story that Pascal Wehrlein's engineer told him.
Absolutely, I would go along with that. I'm trying to make the connection myself. Here's more of a replay of Rockenfeller's dramas at the start and Wickens up the. You see, Rockenfeller's all locked up anyway, isn't he? Skating into Jamie Green. And the chain reaction, the stewards will have to sort that out. I'm not sure it was anybody's fault other than everybody trying to go for the line at turn 1. The leaders have gone by them, and 1 second between them. We've got 12.5 minutes on the clock. Wehrlein versus Wittmann is still on. Marco Wittmann behind. This is 5th and 6th. So Wehrlein may not have made progress in this race, but he's staying out there, knowing points are important.
radio traffic between Pascal Wehrlein and his engineer. Sadly, couldn't really hear what Pascal was saying back to his engineer. See if we get a response. That would be interesting to hear. But he's now very, very focused on trying to stay out there to bank some points, but at the same time, try and make that Mercedes as wide as possible from the clutches of Marco Wittmann behind him.
I mean, his lap times are still good.
Yeah.
So obviously he is concerned, and the team is monitoring the situation. But you know, he's not falling down the order. He's not lost a place yet. He's doing a very good job of coping with whatever the drama is. And last time over the line, he was 2/5 of a second up on Wittmann. You know, it was all right.
Well, whatever it is, he's driving through it, isn't he?
It's a good effort. Just to recap as well, we saw Rockenfeller retire. So Rockenfeller with front damage affecting the aero and affecting everything as well. That's a retirement. So Rockenfeller gone, Paffett gone, Muller has gone, Green gone, Wickens gone, and Ekstrom is running in 15th place. He's still not near the points, frustratingly for him.
No, and also frustratingly for him is he's still got De Resta ahead of him, hasn't he? As we see Mike Rockenfeller there. He is out of the race as well.
Lead gap, Dave, as well. It's going up, so it's now 1.3 seconds. So Spangler has fallen too far out of that DRS.
So he's out of DRS now, isn't he?
Replay of Wehrlein there, leaping over the curb through that chicane, the back part of the circuit. But you've got to say, the talking points of the race have been incidents and attrition and problems and damage rather than sheer overtaking and racecraft. But there's been a lot to discuss in this race as you get the replays of Glock and Spangler using the flat curb to their advantage and the cars grinding the ground, the sparks fly. Very dramatic pictures, look at that.
Yeah, and probably in fairness, because we've had so many incidents and things for us to be talking about, is taken away from the fact what a brilliant job Timo Glock is doing in driving this, bearing in mind that Bruno Spangler did have DRS available to him, giving him that extra boost.
9 laps, Pascal, 9 laps to survive.
He wasn't able to take advantage of that. 9 laps to survive. So Pascal is driving through a problem, isn't he?
Absolutely.
He's driving through an issue.
Yeah, and it's that word survive that really underlines that the team thinks there's a big, big problem here. So Timo Glock goes over the timing line. Now Wehrlein, I would suggest, is looking a bit more vulnerable this time with Wittmann, and then Blomqvist not that far behind as they come over the line.
I think you're right. He's certainly much, much closer as they go into the hotel turn now. We follow this order of P5, 6 and 7, Pascal Wehrlein. Then it is the 2 BMWs, Marco Wittmann, the champion, and then Tom Blomqvist is behind Marco Wittmann. But again, whatever issue it is that Pascal Wehrlein has in that Mercedes-Benz, he is able to manage it at the moment. And there you can see where at one point he was very, very close to, well, was within DRS of Augusto Farfus. You can now see he has dropped back significantly. But interestingly, neither Wittmann nor Blomqvist have been able to take advantage of it. So Pascal is really driving extremely well at the moment, given that we know he has some real issue with his car. So much of an issue that his engineer saying these are the amount of laps you've got left to survive and keep that car going, Pascal. So whatever he's doing, he's driving through it well.
He is indeed, as the field there now works lap number 20, and the gap was up again, incidentally, between Glock and Spangler last time. 1.5 seconds now between those two. And of course now that
8 laps to go, Bruno. 8 laps. Keep pushing like this, you're doing well.
Now that Wittmann has got a bit stuck behind Wehrlein, Blomqvist is closing up to him as well.
So 8 laps to go for Bruno Spangler, and we've heard that, and now here is this battle as Marco Wittmann just took a little look up the inside of Pascal Wehrlein. He was nothing like close enough to be able to do anything about it. He's just trying to fill that Pascal Wehrlein's mirrors full of his BMW and perhaps try and unsettle him a little bit, but to be fair to Pascal, I don't think it's for unsettling as the back end of Pascal Wehrlein's car just steps out a little bit on the entry to that chicane. Certainly being very, very aggressive with the cars over the curbs, that's for sure, a point that David made just a few moments ago. Brilliant drive from Timo Glock. Bruno Spangler not able to trouble him at the moment, and Antonio Felix da Costa is P3 with Augusto Farfus P4. Then we see the Pascal Wehrlein car, and Wehrlein continuing to drive well within whatever the issues are.
I'm just having a quick look at the Mercedes Twitter feed. They've reported that Gary Paffett is out. They're not talking about the Wehrlein situation for the moment, which is interesting.
Well, for my money, I think that Wittmann is getting a bit closer to Pascal Wehrlein. Now, of course, we only have 7 minutes left to run in this race. Pascal having done so well to defend from Marco Wittmann thus far. There's Matthias Ekström. With Lucas Auer right behind him, and he's not able to trouble. And in fairness, Lucas Auer just taking a look up the inside of Matthias Ekström there. So whether Ekström's got a little bit of an issue there, David, because he seems to be dropping away in terms of pace.
Yeah, that might be the effect of the weight as much as anything, because of course we know that's one of the heaviest cars on track. What have we got left then now? 6 minutes 40 seconds plus 1 lap. And up front, Glock and Spangler, gap is 1.4 seconds. And at the moment, we've got a BMW 1, 2, 3, 4 in this race. There is Antonio Felix da Costa, there is Augusto Farfus. And let's hear from Mike Rockenfeller next. Dramas for him as well. Mike Rockenfeller.
Yeah, a lot of action, a lot of drama here today. And I know, Rocky, we talked about it earlier. You knew it was going to be a tough race, but that it had to end like this. Why was that? Is it also a result of the incident in turn 1?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, turn 1, I had a decent start, not great. Tried to go on the inside, and I think I was late on the brakes for sure. And then everything packed up like normal in this area of the field, and then Wickens was on the inside of me, really late. And then I just clipped Jamie. Obviously it was not great, but yeah, it's racing, and I damaged my car in the front. Then I stayed out, I tried, but there was no reason to continue. I was so slow because of the damage. We have to look what it is, because it doesn't look too bad, just small damage on the front left, but somehow the car was undrivable.
Focus on tomorrow. Thank you very much, Rocky, and back to you.
As into the pit lane comes Edo Mortara, the next driver to slow. So Mortara with problems now. Not been conscious of him being involved in any scrapes, but again, we've seen the car lose pace, and it's another one that drops down the pit lanes. Now, both he and Rockenfeller, of course, were on the heavyweight, and Ekström is on the heavyweight, and if you don't finish, then your results aren't going to be as good, which will affect the amount of weight carried to the next event.
5 laps, Pascal, 5 laps. Mortara retired, Ekström P14.
Thank you, David. I think we can make of that what we will. Now, as Hans-Jürgen Abt there, got a concern on his face, just before we cut away...
5 more laps, 5 more laps.
Just before we cut away to speak to Verena, I thought Lucas Auer was going to get past Ekström.
Yeah, and I was wondering whether that was purely the effect of the weight. But having said that, Auer's car is still 15 kilos heavier than the leading BMW, so it's not a lightweight Mercedes. You know, by other people's results in that same team and type of car, he has gained a bit of weight himself. But yeah, he's looking pretty feisty in this. There is Bruno Spangler, who is falling away from Glock now, 1.8 seconds being the margin between them as the field pounds its way through for the 24th time, and the gap between them, 1.8 seconds between the top two as the leaders work their way then through the infield. If you come to Oschersleben as a spectator, you can see a huge amount of track. There's this big banking on the middle from where you can see lots of corners. Go and stand on the high banking on the back straight. You can see really the first half of the circuit. Yeah, you do get a lot of action for your money around here. It's a busy track as well, used for lots of German national meetings, lots of testing as well, lots of drive days. There are race teams based here like Motorpark. There's the Schubert BMW team just down the road. And Edo Mortara is out of the race with 4 laps to go for Pascal Wehrlein, but none more for Edo Mortara. And Timo Glock, I would suggest now, very definitely is heading for a second DTM career win.
I think you're right. He has really driven, and apologies if we've not paid enough attention to it, but the reason is we've been paying our attention to everything else that's been going on as well. So it's Timo Glock that leads from Bruno Spangler, and they are a country mile ahead of P3, which is Antonio Felix da Costa. Then it's Augusto Farfus, then it's the ailing Pascal Wehrlein, and I say ailing because we know there is something wrong with the car, and he's driving through it, and at the moment he's being able to continue to hold at bay Marco Wittmann and also Tom Blomqvist, who are in the next 2 places, as you can see. Eduardo Mortara at the 5th Audi out then, and he is with Verena now.
Edo, what happened? Very unfortunately, obviously, yet another Audi that had to retire. What happened with you?
No, I first need to see the video in turn 1, but I had a big crowd from behind. I think it was perfect. Yeah, I mean, the first time I cannot say. I mean, the second time he basically made the right corner in the first lap, I think, and made the left corner in the third or fourth lap. And for a guy that is always saying that the others are idiots and that they cannot drive, I think he needs to have sometime a good look at the video of what he did today. But I mean, anyway, we were fighting for P10, so in the end we are not fighting for the first positions. It's okay.
Well, thank you, Edo. Obviously very upset, but let's find out. Let's check out the video at some point. So back to you.
Certainly wasn't shy on saying what he felt, was he?
No, there's been quite a lot of needle amongst drivers this year, hasn't there? Remember Paffett and Tomczyk from earlier on in the season back at the press conference at the Lausitzring after their accident at Hockenheim, and that was a pretty frosty reception. Anyway, we are a minute and change plus a lap away from the end of the race, being dominated by Timo Glock ahead of Bruno Spangler. Antonio Felix da Costa runs third, Augusto Farfus is fourth, Pascal Wehrlein here still is fifth. The team describing him at the moment on Twitter as fighting like a lion as Timo Scheider tries to find a way past Maxime Martin. This is for 11th ahead of them, and therefore into the points with the demise of Mortara is Danny Juncadella for Mercedes. The best of the Audis now is Miguel Molina, who is in 9th place. We've been talking a lot about the weight in this race. Another factor of Oschersleben is that it's a circuit that really does need high downforce. Right. So does Zandvoort, and remember how well the BMWs went there. So, okay, the cars are light, but also the nature of this with the aero and the high downforce setup that they need, that's also helping BMW. And so Timo Glock has got 2 more laps. The one he's about to start will get into the end of the time, and then there's 1 more lap after it. So 2 more laps as he heads now over the beam.
And he is comfortably ahead of Bruno Spangler with a 2-second margin, and then you can see the margin.
The situation is the same, and there should be 2 laps to go. So this lap plus 1 more.
Then you can see the gap back to Augusto Farfus, Antonio Felix da Costa.
You've made the point about what a good drive it's been from Timo Glock. You back that up because he's not put a wheel wrong, has he? He's been able to control the pace.
He has really, and he's never ever, not once, has he looked troubled, has he? No. You know, there was, let's be truthful, you and I having this discussion of whether he would make a mistake and Bruno Spangler would go through points-wise. You know, that would be advantageous for the championship, but actually he has never really looked threatened. Even when Bruno was in the DRS zone, he wasn't able to use that to his advantage. It's been a brilliant drive from Timo Glock. I think also, to be fair, in P5, it's been a supreme drive from Pascal Wehrlein, driving through whatever issue he's got with the car. What I keep looking at, David, is P14, Matthias Ekström. Not going to get any points, is he?
No, he's not. In fact, you've heard the other Audi drivers talking about the fact they're always going to be at the bottom end of the top 10 anyway. Yeah. Finishing 14th from starting 23rd ain't bad, although, in fairness, many of those places have been handed to him by people retiring with problems.
Last lap, Timo, last lap.
So Timo Glock starts his last lap, 2 seconds clear of Spangler. Antonio Felix da Costa a long way back in 3rd, 4th Augusto Farfus. Wehrlein is hanging on to that 5th place and Wittmann is 6th. In terms of overtaking and battling, it's not been the best DTM race, but it's been a fascinating one. Yes. And Wehrlein will come out of this, of course, looking a lot stronger championship-wise.
Absolutely. He will bank points for being P5. Matthias Ekström, if he finishes P14, or even if he's able to get past Paul di Resta and finish P13 in this last lap, Matthias Ekström will not have any points from this particular race. But the man that's going to max his points all is this driver, Timo Glock, then, who has driven a phenomenal race. Through the chicane he goes. We see him at work inside the car there. Timo Glock has looked supremely comfortable all afternoon, truthfully. We know that the BMWs really go well here at Oschersleben. They have the weight advantage also, but Timo Glock has had to drive that car really, really well because Bruno Spangler, who's no slouch, behind him in P2, hasn't really looked once like he's going to trouble him. So Timo Glock, it's been a phenomenal drive from him as he rounds the final turn, heads towards the checkered flag, and Timo Glock takes win number 2 in DTM. Top job well done.
Can't argue with that, and a very popular winner as well. In front of us here, all the fans have stood up to greet him as he came across the line. Timo Glock dominates the race from pole position to a race win. Doesn't get much better than that, does it? And the...
For the 1 and 2, that's great. Thank you very much. Sorry I could not be any faster today. I was struggling a little bit with the balance over the distance. But they all good points. Thank you, guys.
We talk about a 1-2, indeed a 1-2-3-4 for BMW, but take the teams in isolation. It's a 1-2 for MTech.
Yes.
Same team, of course, runs Glock and Spangler. So a 1-2 for the MTech team, a 1-2-3-4 for Jens Marquardt's brand. Timo Glock, perfect job done. Mercedes will be moderately pleased with 5th for Pascal Wehrlein, and we're fascinated to learn exactly what the extent of the problem was. And Audi, the best from Audi, Miguel Molina, in 9th position.
Perhaps sometimes we overlook the teams rather than the manufacturers and how much influence the teams actually do have. But yes, you're absolutely right. Well, you can see how MTech are celebrating down there. Jens Marquardt, the boss of BMW, is going to be utterly delighted. I should think he's kissing you, isn't he, Verena?
Not quite, but I'm sure he's absolutely delighted. Jens Marquardt, that was a fantastic race, certainly. I mean, first 4 positions, all BMW, and all in all, 7 BMW in the top 8. Are you delighted?
I'm really impressed. I mean, this was really a fantastic result. I'm super proud of all guys, but Timo really did so well. And I mean, you could see the speed of Bruno today, and he was pushing hard all the time, and that was all fair and square racing. We didn't do any games or anything. It's not necessary in this championship. And I think also Timo gave a good answer to some of the obstacles from Moscow. I think that was the right answer. And obviously also last year, I think he left Oschersleben a bit frustrated when he slammed the door of his car when he parked it. So maybe all of that accumulated today in this fantastic result, and really proud of the guys. Yeah.
Timo certainly deserves the victory. He did a perfect race. And I mean, Bruno is the best BMW in the championship. And I think it's, if I may just emphasize that, wonderful that we didn't hear any team orders.
No, I mean, that was clear for us today. Yeah, I mean, this is really what this championship is about, close fighting and proper fighting. And for us, that was really the goal for today. And MTech did a fantastic job team-wise, but all the other guys as well. So yeah, great day today.
Absolutely.
More work for tomorrow.
That's for sure. Thank you very much, Jens Marquardt, and back to you.
I'll never forget that Timo Glock door closing moment, and that's for sure. Glock, Spangler, Felix da Costa, Farfus, the top 4. Pascal Wehrlein, P5.
The new championship leader.
Thank you.
And then 6th, Wittmann, 7th, Blomqvist, Tomczyk, Molina and Juncadella round out those in the points ahead of Martin and Scheider. And then De Resta, Ekstrom, Auer, Gertz, Tombe and Vitoris, the other finishers. 18 got to the line, 24 left it.
Well, a bruising encounter for many as we see Timo Glock then exit his BMW, and they'll close the door with not quite the same venom that he did last time that door closed was Focus. Antonio Felix da Costa there to congratulate him, and Bruno Spangler ain't going to be far behind either. Interesting what Jens Marquardt was saying, wasn't it, that from their side there was never going to be any team orders. And there, as I said, I knew he'd celebrate in style. He jumps atop the BMW. And Timo Glock utterly delighted with that win.
I seem to remember last year Timo was responsible for Jens Marquardt growing a beard. Well, now he's had a win. Can we, like John Watson was forced to when he had his first Grand Prix win, get Timo to get rid of his beard?
Oh.
Jens has done it. So that's another question for Verena. Can we have a race-winning, now clean-shaven Timo Glock? Pascal Wehrlein takes over the championship lead. Bruno Spangler will be getting closer, of course, up there as well. He was 41 points back, but that margin will have been slashed as well. So Spangler goes into tomorrow's race a lot closer to the front. He's got work to do, and maybe Nürburgring and Hockenheim are not going to be BMW friendly. No. However, you never know what's going to pan out before the end of the season. And so Timo Glock it is then who can celebrate a win in a race that will have certainly people talking about all the incidents that seem to come throughout the race. So this is how we look in the championship. Wehrlein for 5th is the championship leader, 4 points ahead of Ekstrom, who's out of the points. Mortara doesn't finish, he's 3rd. Green doesn't finish, he's 4th. Spangler closer to them all now. He is from 41 points back, 27 points back ahead of Wittmann, Paffett, Rockenfeller, Da Costa and Wickens.
That pack of 5 at the top of the championship. it's, you know, it's shaping up beautifully, isn't it, for us to go to Nürburgring and Hockenheim.
And the championship lead is like a burning piece of coal. Every time anybody gets it, they pass it on, don't they?
Yes.
Because it's gone from the likes of Jamie Green to Wehrlein to Ekstrom, back to Wehrlein. You know, it's being shuffled around.
Yes,
if you look at how, with these 2 races a weekend now, the pattern of the championship continues to twist, doesn't it? And it's been a really interesting year to see how the narrative develops around the championship season. And then you get somebody like Timo Glock, who, with all due deference, he's way back in the title race coming into the weekend. He was 17th before that race started.
Yeah.
And there he is, and he bags maximum points.
I know, extraordinary. Well, there he is. And embraced and congratulated by Jens Marquardt.
Augusto Farfus there as well. And Timo will be now shepherded across for television interviews and then in due course make his way up towards the podium. There is Antonio Felix da Costa already on his way for 3rd place, backing up his Zandvoort performance. So a good drive again by Antonio Felix da Costa, who's been leaping from DTM to Formula E machinery. Very different sorts of cars over the course of the year.
Great to get these shots with them behind the podium as we take the slow-mos then of the top 3. And the man that you've just seen ready to go out on the podium takes P3 in the Red Bull BMW M4 DTM. It's Antonio Felix da Costa. Bruno Spangler never really looked like he was going to trouble Timo Glock. However, what he did do was drive that BMW bank car to bank a particularly important 2nd place. Good for his points haul in the championship, that's for sure. Undisputed, though, supreme drive from this man in pattern going on here, BMW. Timo Glock, great drive from him, and he takes his 2nd DTM win from his 1st DTM pole position.
And the Deutsche Post car has delivered in style as Timo Glock stamps his authority on the pad. Let's hear from Antonio Felix da Costa from 3rd place. Verena?
You certainly did a fantastic job. Congratulations. You were fighting really hard, and you're going to be up on the podium, 3rd place. How's it feel?
Yeah, I think it's a great feeling always to be on a DTM podium. This is such a competitive championship that to be up here just feels really cool. And yeah, I cannot be totally happy if I'm, you know, a proper race driver, because the gap to P1 was a bit too big. So we'll try and fix that for tomorrow. But with the position, I'm super happy. Great day for BMW again. You know, it's been a tough season, and everybody in Munich is pushing so hard, so I'm happy that we have a podium lockout today.
Congratulations to that, and let's see how you push harder even tomorrow. So back to you, Dave.
Thank you very much, Verena. My colleague alongside me then, as he was saying, great win for Timo Glock. Now, what will be going through Matthias Ekstrom's mind right now, do you think? You know, did everything he could, didn't he? Yes, he had a very heavy car. P14, a lot of that was advantaged by the fact that others had dropped off, but you know, he was out there trying his damnedest.
Yeah, and he'll probably be thinking, could have been worse. Wehrlein could have won that race, so I could be looking at a bigger deficit. And he will also be thinking that tomorrow is another day, and they can take whatever they've just learned by way of data from that race into tomorrow.
And that's something that you mentioned this earlier on, you know, in this 2 race per weekend season of DTM, you know, actually never has domination on the Saturday necessarily meant domination on the Sunday. No. That's for sure.
No, has been rare, hasn't it? Maybe the same brand, the same manufacturer, but not the same driver necessarily, no.
Manfred Sandbichler there from Hankook Tyres congratulating Bruno Spangler.
And so too does Antonio Felix da Costa as they get ready for the podium. And Timo Glock will be there in a moment, I'm sure, as well. A former Toyota Formula 1 driver who perhaps we never really saw the best of in F1, but you underrate Timo Glock at your peril. Bruno Spangler, of course, a former champion. There's the man of the moment then. Timo Glock will in a moment have to substitute the BMW hat for the regulation Hankook 1 before he's allowed out onto the podium, but the BMW drivers make a 1, 2, 3, and a great result for a team that always goes well here. And a quick word about Tom Blomqvist as well, because Tom has equalled his best result. It was another 7th place, so despite the good effort in qualifying, he's not got any better, but he has equalled the best that we've seen out of the Brit this season.
The more I see of Tom Blomqvist, the more I think his time will come. First season in DTM, of course, and well, we'll see how his DTM career develops as Jens Marquardt there. Hello. laughter between a text message going on there and Wolfgang Ulrich there as well. So we're all awaiting the podium, which has been readied, and the drivers will be out there very, very soon. And scene is set for what is going to be a thrilling qualifying and race tomorrow, that's for sure. Another two big elements of action to bring you tomorrow, qualifying and the race 2,
which is the longer race, yeah,
with the pit stop. And we both know things can happen in pit stops, can't they?
But on the evidence of today, BMW is going to be hard to stop, but in what order? As Timo Glock is called forward to make his way then out onto the podium for a second career win in the DTM. Former champion Bruno Spangler joins in for second place, and Antonio Felix da Costa, who's also, of course, a race winner in the DTM. That came 2 months ago. He will be there for third place, and a 1-2 for the MTech team as well, as BMW enjoys a great result for Ernest Knorr's team then. It's a 1-2 here at Oschersleben in the first of 2 races this weekend.
So it'll be national anthem to play for Timo Glock on the top step of the podium. He looks very happy with that, doesn't he, Timo Glock?
We've had lots of drivers say over the years what a tough championship this is in which you can win a race. And we always say during qualifying, you look at drivers and you say, well, they should be higher up than that. But the sheer weight of numbers means you can't have 24 people all on the top step of the podium. It just doesn't work like that. And it might be a long time between wins, but it's come. And so Timo Glock reminds people that he can deliver. And BMW with a great result. There is Bruno Spangler taking second position. And Bruno Spangler also proving that he's not lost his touch either. Early season, perhaps, as BMW was in its malaise, then people started to question Bruno Spangler, but he's also equalled his best result of the year.
So Antonio Felix da Costa receives his trophy as well. I'm looking forward to hearing from Bruno Spangler, because he doesn't have to tell us everything, doesn't he? And that will be the case today, I feel sure as well. Just really, really interested to find out why he was unable to get on terms with Timo Glock, as we see them all together there. What a day for BMW here at Oschersleben then, as they take all the podium steps, and out comes the Henkel Trocken, and the first in that race was Bruno Spangler, that's for sure.
And how refreshing not to have a race by team orders, as Jens Marklock was saying. It's all about close battling, and that's what we want.
Don't always necessarily get it.
No, but it's good when you have it, and the team's acknowledging that, and so Timo Glock today comes out on top.
Takes a big slug of the Henkel Trocken then.
Take that, Bruno.
Yeah, Bruno was just, come on then, come on then.
Have a spray if you think you're hard enough, yes. Well, the top 3 drivers set for the press conference, and as we've been saying, is tomorrow going to be another BMW day, and in which order will the 3 drivers make their way to that top step, and can any other brand, can Mercedes get up onto the podium? Audi, you've got to say, not really looking likely to here. The quicker drivers with the weight,
this isn't going to go well.
Seamless. What do you mean? What do you mean? Touch like a midwife.
Part 2. Oh, well.
But where there's booze involved, people will catch it.
Much like a midwife. You do not come up with some expressions.
Did I say that out loud? So Timo Glock, he says, returning to the plot, is the winner. In the end, 1.8 seconds was the margin. It had been a fraction greater than that just before the end of the race. But Timo, I think, will be the first to admit that it doesn't really matter by what margin. Glock is the winner. Bruno Spangler, second place, Verena.
A very happy Bruno Spangler, I can see. Congratulations, second place. You were fighting so hard. Are you happy with the second place?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for sure, I had a really good start. Good first two corners. And then, you know, Timo had a really good pace. I fought hard to try and get closer to him, to try maybe overtake with DRS, but he was too quick and I could not quite stay there. At the end, I tried really hard still. I never gave up, but, you know, it was second at the end. For sure, I'm very happy. I'm always happier if I can win. But definitely great result for the whole team, for BMW. You know, after Moscow, to have again a good result here was very important for everyone, and it's great for the team. You know, thank you for the great job of the whole team. We had 5 cars in the top 5 after quali today, which was great. So, you know, it's amazing. It's a great result. Happy to be second, and also happy for the team, MTech, to be 1 and 2. That's great.
And also you're 5th best in the championship. You're only 27 points behind the best in the championship, so that means you're also catching up there.
Yeah, it's very close now. I mean, with 2 races per weekend, anything can happen. For sure, we have to stay feet on the ground because we had a very low weight here. So we have to see how it looks like when we have more weight on board, which means probably Nürburgring. But you never know. Anything can happen. I think we still have to improve a little bit our pace if we have the same weight. But we push hard as much as we can, and then we see at the end of the season where we are.
Best of luck for tomorrow for the race. Let's see how hard you're going to push there. So back to you, Dave. Well, I'm going to try to get Timo.
Cheers. Thank you, Verena. She'll try and get hold of Timo for us. But as always, you always get quite a lot from Bruno Spangler. And there he said, you know, we're aware of the fact that we had the weight advantage. He said, I'm aware of the fact that actually Timo was so quick I couldn't catch him, which was really, really good to hear that from Bruno Spangler, in that he was really, really trying and that Timo just had the pace. So there's Jens Marquardt on the telephone then. Doubtless having a congratulatory telephone call. But Bruno Spangler always very, very revealing when he's being interviewed. And it's always good to hear from Bruno Spangler. Verena doing a level best to get hold of Timo Glock as well. And indeed, as if by magic, here is Timo with Verena.
It's not magic, it's hard work, Dave. I got him, so congratulations. A fantastic race from pole to victory. It's your first pole you had today, it's your second victory. You've got to be just on top of the world the way you're feeling.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, I was pretty nervous on the start, I have to say. You know, it's a long time ago that I had a clean view in front of me. And I just thought to myself, just get a good start, just get a good start. And you know, I got everything together and had a good pace. But then, you know, the 2 safety car sessions, or the 2 safety cars came out, twice came out, and that was quite tricky. I mean, you know, you have to have a good strategy to get straight away a gap. And at the first restart, I had a really good gap already to Antonio. But then the second one came straight after. And that was a bit of a shame, but, you know, it was clear when Bruno was behind, you know, for me it was clear I need to show that I can pull away, and I just got it and got him out of the DRS window, and then I just drove it to the end, just tried to control it, and the last 3-4 laps were just quite long and emotional and really nice, I have to say. And thanks to my team, to BMW, to Ernest, very special for him as well for 1 and 2. And thank you to my family at back home, my beautiful wife and my little son.
Oh, that's lovely. But you know the pressure's on for tomorrow, right?
Yeah, but now we need to celebrate. I need to enjoy this, and I'm pretty sure we could be strong, or can be strong tomorrow again. But it's so tight, you know. I mean, the first 5, I think, were less than a tenth. So you have to have everything together tomorrow, and then we need to see.
Well, congratulations, enjoy your victory. And that's it from the first race of the weekend. And obviously tomorrow we're going to be back with the second race. Let's see what that brings. Till then. Achso, warte, ich höre dich nicht. Warte. Redest du mit jetzt? Redest du? Ja, okay. Ja. Alles klar. Lauft ihr schon? Okay, Timo? Ready? Okay. Timo, fantastisches Rennen für dich, von Pole to Finish quasi. Wie fühlst du dich nach dem Rennen?